How are you guys? Today I was just touching up a bit of paint on one of my miniatures, and I thought, oh, while I've got it out, it's a good a good chance to do a little video on it. Now what you're looking at here is Vickers .50 Mark D. Now this was an export version of Vickers gun that had the shell case was 12.7 thick wide and 120 millimeters long. That's the shell case dimensions. Now this Vickers had previously developed a Vickers gun in .50 with 12.7 by 81 millimeter shell case, but this round, although it found service with the British Army as a turret mounted vehicle on many armoured cars and tanks, it also found itself in Navy service with a slightly longer barrel and a faster rate of fire. However, Vickers had a good long look at the American M2 Browning, which shell case dimensions are 12.7 by 99 millimeter, and they must have thought in around about 1928 to upgrade their .5 inch. Now they did this as a commercial model. They don't even appear to have marketed this to the armed forces. Sales weren't very good. Only less than 100 were sold, made and sold, and 20 of them ended up in Chinese service. So as I said, it fired a far heavier shell than the American M2, a heavier projectile than the American M2. It fired it further to greater effect. It was marketed as an anti-tank and anti-aircraft weapon, and the ammunition for it, there was quite a large range of ammunition for it, and armor piercing tracer, smoke tracer, and incendiary. Now Vickers, although they made the guns, they didn't make the ammunition. Perhaps because sales weren't great enough, they didn't retool to make the ammunition. However, ICI took on production of the ammunition. This made the ammunition quite expensive, and China wasn't able to manufacture this ammunition locally. Now the gun was a big gun. It was 6'2" in length in total, and when the Chinese army had bought them, they bought 20, and they split them up into companies of 4 guns per company. Now the first 3 companies went to form what the Chinese would be their very first light anti-aircraft regiment, and that was of 3 battalions. The first battalion was of 3 companies of Vickers Mark Ds, plus 4 twin barrel Hotchkiss 13.2 millimeter. We'll get back to the Hotchkiss later, but so 16 guns would make up a Chinese light anti-aircraft battalion. The other 2 battalions were made up of 16 guns each, of 4 companies each, of the twin-barreled Hotchkiss. Now getting back to the Mark D, she was wasn't a big seller. Japan bought 20 of them. Bought 48 of them. China bought 20. Siam bought some, and I can't remember where else they went. So they were a very rare weapon. The Chinese, they were definitely used in the Battle of Shanghai, in the Second Battle of Shanghai. Definitely in use around Shanghai, around Nanjing, and I would be hesitant to include these in any army beyond 1943, but doesn't mean they weren't in service somewhere. But as far as putting them on a war game table in a game, perhaps I wouldn't even go as far as 1940. I would say 1940, 41 is the last time you should see these on the war games table. As you can see, these are in a German type uniform, the style helm. Now, as I said previously, you don't want to see backpacks on your Chinese forces unless it's a demonstration brigade. However, these Vickers Mark D may well have cycled through the demonstration brigade at one time or another. So there you go, Vickers Mark D, 12.7 by 120 millimeter, and I made this myself. The stand is from the Airfix British 8th Army. The machine gun is just something bodged up from the spares box. The sighting mechanism is, I think it's some kind of fitting, a pin from something I scavenged. I can't remember. So there you go, Vickers Mark D, in service with China, in service with Japan 48. If anybody knows what the Japanese did to them, let me know. So as I said, these were in service from 1933, at least 1933 onwards with the Chinese. So they would have been, in the front line for at least 6-7 years before they were drawn because of lack of ammunition. Because we've got to remember that the Chinese soldier fought the Japanese for the longest with the least. And also what we've got to remember, guys, is to press like, hit subscribe, and let me know what you think, what your feedback is, anything like that. See ya!